It is 7 o'clock. This is CJ Thomas, Town Council Chair. I would like to now call our Town Council meeting of July 14th, 2020 to order. And as always, we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And before we begin, I'd just like to thank the businesses, the residents, the visitors, and employees of Farmington and Unionville for the way they've all handled themselves throughout the pandemic. I'd also like to remind you all that it is not always obvious who amongst us is at heightened risk for COVID-19, so please err on the side of caution in your interactions with others. Give someone a bit extra personal space, or wearing a mask could make a life-altering difference. With that, we're going to begin with our presentations and recognitions. Edward, if you would start us off.
Thank you, CJ. Edward Gianaros. Given the nationwide crisis we're in, I think it's important for the people in town to hear from their town council and to know that we will not tolerate racism or any type of social injustice in Farmington. And they need to have confidence in that, and they need to see that we're taking positive steps to ensure that, such as creating the task force, which we'll be doing later in tonight's agenda. Without further ado, I will read the proclamation. Whereas the nation and the town of Farmington have been galvanized by the tragic death of George Floyd, and whereas Mr. Floyd's death and the deaths of so many others in our nation's history highlights the destructive nature of racism and prejudice in our society. And whereas these tragic deaths have propelled our nation into a serious conversation on the devastating effects of racial injustice. And whereas communities throughout our nation's history have had to deal with the toxic effects of racism. And whereas we are proud of those people in our town's history who worked for social justice, such as the Farmington abolitionists, who used their homes as stations along the Underground Railroad to help escaped slaves. And whereas members of our community gave shelter and support to the African survivors of the Amistad slave ship after their trial until they were able to return home to Sierra Leone. And whereas the town of Farmington takes the mantle from our forebears to assert that racism, prejudice, and social injustice have no place in Farmington, and to affirm the statement, Black Lives Matter. And whereas the town of Farmington recognizes and commemorates Juneteenth, the day on June 19th, 1865, when the Union Army freed the last remaining people who were enslaved. And whereas the town of Farmington condemns acts of racism which have impacted people of color. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the town of Farmington encourages creating a more diverse, inclusive, and equitable community where everyone is treated with respect, and because it sees diversity as a strength and pledges to continue to work to make Farmington an inclusive community for people of all backgrounds. Therefore, be it further resolved that in order to address these issues, the town council will create a task force to be made up of diverse community members, police, town and education officials, and town employees to engage with our entire community. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 14th day of July 2020, CJ Thomas, Chair, Farmington Town Council.
Thank you, Edward. We have three more proclamations, and we had the honor of actually meeting with these three recipients: Eagle Scout recipient Timothy DiGermano, Eagle Scout recipient Benjamin J. Cooley, and Girl Scout Gold Award recipient Gabrielle Sweet. And we have a little video for you so you can see the presentation. We had a very fortunate event. It was a beautiful day out when we did this at the end of last week. So we had the opportunity to social distance when we did so. and families were there as well. We were wearing masks. I did take my mask off to speak, but tried to keep our socially distant 6 feet as well. My apologies. We've had a little bit of technical difficulties. We're working on our sound for the video. So if you give us 1 minute, thank you.
Tell me if you can hear.
Well, I'd like to say, from the town council side, this is one of the really favorite moments we have, recognizing any citizens in town, but in particular, the youth of town. And we have such an incredible number of youth programs throughout town that foster growth, leadership, and we have 3 recipients tonight that we're going to give the proclamations to that are incredibly deserving. I'll address each one as I give the proclamations out, but all 3 of these recipients did a tremendous job helping the community as a whole. And I believe all 3 of these were completed before COVID, which also gave our community, during a time of high stress, more opportunities to be outside and to enjoy nature, and you all helped with that. So thank you at the front end for this, and I will now read each of the individual proclamations. We're going to start off with Tim Germano, and if you would like to come up and stand a face 6 feet from me. So stand in the middle of this square. We fortunately have squares that are wide enough we can judge where we are. So congratulations. And the proclamation reads, first of all, I do want to say, Tim's project, which dealt with Suburban Park, if you'd like to learn more about it, you could go to the Unionville Museum. I remember when we opened up the exhibit down there, it gives you an opportunity to virtually walk through Suburban Park and see the work that he's done there. So thank you for that. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the Scouts DSA help train the youth of our community with skills which serve them well in the future, and whereas many of our youth participate in activities of the Scouts DSA which benefit our community, and one of the crowning achievements of Scouting is the attainment of the rank of Eagle Scout, whereas Timothy D. Germano from Troop 170, Scouts DSA, recently completed the requirements for Eagle Scout, and whereas Timothy D. Germano's project involved restoring Suburban Park to its original beauty by clearing pathways and installing 13 posts with the park's history and photographs of the era. Timothy researched the history of the park and created a walking path exhibit at the Unionville Museum, which allowed the physically unable to enjoy the park with photographs and costumes from the time period. And whereas Timothy D. Germano was also instrumental in creating an event for the community to enjoy tours of the park and historic homes in the area, experience a trolley ride and carousel with food trucks in coordination with the Lions Club. Whereas Timothy D. Germano has demonstrated leadership and academic success as part of Troop 170 Boy Scouts of America. Whereas Timothy D. Germano attends Farmington High School in Farmington and is a member of the varsity swim team, member of the Sycamore Pool swim team, a Scouting for Food volunteer, a KOC family events volunteer, a town cleanup volunteer, and whereas as a result of Timothy D. Germano's work, the lives of the people of Farmington will be enriched and enhanced. Now, therefore, be it resolved that on behalf of the Town Council, we hereby extend Timothy D. Germano our best wishes, and we hereby proclaim July 14th, 2020 as Timothy D. Germano Day in Farmington, Connecticut, dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 14th day of July, 2020. C.J. Thomas, Chair, Farmington Town Council. Congratulations. Would you like to say any words? Okay, thank you. Next up, Jen. Yes, thank you. Good job, well done. And all of these projects took a lot of preparation, a lot of coordination with a number of other individuals to help. So, again, the leadership portion of this is incredible. So, the proclamation reads, whereas the Scouts DSA helps train the youth of our community with skills which serve them well in the future, and whereas many of our youth participate in activities of the Scouts DSA which benefit our community, and whereas one of the crowning achievements of Scouting is the attainment of rank of Eagle Scout, and whereas Benjamin J. Cooley from Troop 170, Scouts DSA, recently completed the requirements for Eagle Scout, whereas Benjamin J. Cooley project involved building a 10-by-10 garden gazebo for the residents of Maple Village of Farmington Housing Authority. This included petitioning the plan and zoning for approval, raising the funds for the materials to build by planning a talent show at the senior center, and building the gazebo from scratch with the help from his troop. And whereas Benjamin J. Cooley also worked hard coordinating his troop to help build the gazebo to the appreciation of the residents of Maple Village, who loved their new gazebo and enjoyed their interaction with Benjamin and the troop. And whereas Benjamin J. Cooley has demonstrated leadership and academic success as part of Troop 170, Boy Scouts of America, and assisting the Farmington Community Services with numerous other projects. And whereas Benjamin J. Cooley attends Farmington High School in Farmington and is part of the FHS Drama Department and is a camp counselor at Winding Trail Summer Camp. And whereas, as a result of Benjamin J. Cooley's work, the lives of the people of Farmington will be enriched and enhanced. Now, therefore be it resolved that on behalf of the Farmington Town Council, we hereby extend to Benjamin J. Cooley our best wishes, and we proclaim July 15, 2020 as Benjamin J. Cooley Day in Farmington, Connecticut. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 14th day of July, 2020, C.J. Thomas, Chair, Farmington Town Council. Okay, thank you. And now, we are having our Girl Scout proclamation. So Gabrielle would like to join us. Again, another project throughout Unionville, and this one I'll describe in a little bit, around Lake Garda, which is just giving one more opportunity for our community to get outside, enjoy the great outdoors, and so many of us are locked inside, so thank you very much for all this hard work. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the Girl Scouts of America help train the youth of our community with skills which serve them well in the future. And whereas many of our youth participate in activities of the Girl Scouts of America which benefit our community. And whereas one of the crowning achievements of Girl Scouting is the attainment of Girl Scouts Gold Award. And whereas Gabrielle Sweet from the Girl Scouts of Connecticut Council recently completed the Girl Scouts Gold Award. And whereas Gabrielle Sweet's Take Action program was to renovate 4 miles of hiking trails around Lake Garda in Unionville and Burlington. This project included clearing the trail, adding trailblazer markers, renovating and rebuilding 3 bulletin boards, redrawing the trail map, and creating a QR code for hikers to pull up the map and follow trails using their cell phones. Whereas Gabrielle Sweet has been a Girl Scout since kindergarten and attends Farmington High School in Farmington, is on the girls volleyball team and the lacrosse team, and is an active member of United Methodist Church in Avon. And whereas, as a result of Gabrielle Sweet's work, the lives of the town of Farmington will be enriched and enhanced by hiking and enjoying the beautiful scenery and wildlife in Lake Garda. And now therefore be it resolved that on behalf of the Farmington Town Council, I hereby extend to Girl Scout Gold Award recipient, Gabrielle Sweet, our best wishes, and we hereby proclaim July 16, 2020 as Gabrielle Sweet Day in Farmington, dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 14th day of July, 2020. C.J. Thomas, Chair, Farmington Town Council. Thank you very much.
We wanted to create this plaque to remember the previous Eagle Scouts and all the ones that are going to become Eagle Scouts, and all the names on the list inspired.
Our journey could not be possible without those who come before us to lead the way, to show us the way to be good leaders, good citizens, and to be future Eagle Scouts. We thank you all.
Thank you all.
It was really an enjoyable presentation. It was nice to get to actually meet in person the Scouts. They did tremendous work, as I mentioned earlier, helping the town and helping us enjoy more of the great outdoors. If you couldn't hear the plaque, the Boy Scouts actually gave us a plaque which will be hung in the town hall listing past and future Eagle Scout recipients. So again, congratulations to all of you. Moving on to item agenda D, public hearing. We have none. Item E, new items. Seeing none. We move on to item F, public comment. And we will be conducting the public comment in two phases. The first will consist of the town clerk reading all of the correspondence we received. And the second phase will allow any attendees of this meeting the opportunity to speak. So first I will hand it over to Paula Ray.
Paula Ray, Town Clerk. Good evening, Mr. Chair. I have one public comment to read from Dean DeLatch of 29 Basswood Road, Farmington, Connecticut. Dear Farmington Town Council members, I hope all of you and your families are staying safe and well. I don't know where the Farmington Town Council stands on the issue of voting by mail, but I am writing today to ask you to support a resolution in support of extended absentee balloting in November. I'm sure you are aware that a number of neighboring towns such as Glastonbury, West Hartford, Manchester, Bloomfield, and Windsor have supported such a resolution, and it is being considered in other towns as well. Town leaders in Farmington would be sending a strong, if symbolic, message to Governor Lamont and our state legislators about the importance the council places on keeping town residents safe, while at the same time providing everyone the ability to vote. As of now, 135,000 Americans have died from COVID-19, and the death toll could well exceed 200,000 by November. Thus far, Connecticut has done an admirable job responding to this pandemic, although allowing expanded absentee balloting would further Connecticut's leadership role in the country. Legislative leaders have promised to call a special session later this month to pass legislation needed to expand AB voting in November, but have yet to set a date. Adoption of this resolution in Farmington will help ensure that they do. Public health is not a partisan issue. This deadly virus is a threat to everyone, regardless of party affiliation. I hope the Farmington Town Council will support an initiative to expand absentee voting so that Farmington residents, as well as all Connecticut residents, do not have to choose between exercising their right to vote and staying safe as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And just to review, if anyone would like to participate in Zoom on your computer, you will electronically raise your hand. We'll lower your hand as confirmation that your name has been added to the list of speakers. Don't lower your own hand. If you're logged on in a computer and using your phone as your microphone, do not raise your hand. Send a message through the chat feature with your name and cell phone number. As always, we will be keeping comments to a 5-minute limit. Please begin by stating your name and address. Okay, we're seeing no hands being raised. Last call. Okay, no public comment this evening. We'll be moving on to agenda item G.
Peter Mastrobatista, I make a motion to approve the June 9th, 2020 regular town council meeting.
Joe Capitafaro, second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Are there any comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Next.
I make a motion to approve the June 16th, 2020 special town council meeting.
Joe Capitafaro, second.
A motion has been made and seconded. Are there any comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes unanimously. We will now move on to item agenda H, reading of communications and written appeals. We have none this evening. Agenda item I, report of committees. First committee is the Yukon Health Committee. We had a very good meeting with the leadership from Yukon Health. We discussed the COVID testing being done over at Yukon, as well as their partnering with Jackson Labs, who's done a tremendous job increasing their capacity to analyze these tests. They increased exponentially. It's been great for not just us locally, but for the state. That's one of the reasons we've been able to process so many tests. So again, we thank Yukon, we thank Jackson Labs, and I think we're fortunate to have them. Number 2, Land Acquisition Committee, Peter.
Peter Mastrobatista, nothing new to report.
Thank you. Agenda item 3, Green Efforts Committee, Chris.
No report. Thank you. Chris Fagan.
Okay, agenda item 4, Farmington High School Building Committee, Chris.
Okay, once again, Chris Fagan. As everybody is aware, the building committee is in a sort of a pause status right now, and from a logistical perspective, we amended our scheduling to shift to a monthly meeting instead of bi-weekly, and working hand in hand with us at the town council level as we monitor our, the COVID related developments and our financial situation within the town. So really nothing to report other than we will be meeting tomorrow night. So I'll have something after that.
Great, thank you, Chris. Next, we will move to agenda item J, report of the council chair and liaisons. I will start the town council chair report. First off, I hope you all have had the opportunity to read our summer town newsletter, which was recently sent out. There's a great deal of very useful information on there that can also be found on our website at, of course, www.farmington-ct.org. Coming up soon, we have both a primary and a general election. The registrar of voters will be looking for election workers. We're experiencing a substantial increase, expecting a substantial increase in absentee ballots this year. That will require personnel to be trained and ready to help in the counting. There's always also a need for workers at the polls on election day. So if you have any interest, just give a call over to the Office of the Registrar. Their phone number is 860-675-2367. You can also go to the town website and look under Registrar of Voters. We're fortunate, we have such beautiful trails and riverfront in town, and since the weather has improved, they have been incredibly well used. I would like to remind you all, when you carry in something, please carry it back out. If you see something someone else has neglected to carry out, pick it up, help them out. Help preserve the environment for all of us out there. We do have some community officers who will be patrolling at an increased rate this year to try and encourage better manners. For the most part, people have been very good, but let's just remind each other and help each other out. The Economic Development Commission's Explore Farmington site continues to offer updates on business openings and events going on in town. So take a look at Explore Farmington. And the community services, we'll talk about that in a minute, but they're having their summer concert series on the F Hill at 7 p.m. Thursdays outside the Staple House. So that's all I have. I'll now move over to the Board of Education liaison. Chris.
Let's make I'm unmuted. Okay, Chris Fagan. Yeah. From the Board of Education perspective, I think a most significant note, obviously, is everybody's concerned about what's the schedule or plan for starting up the school year in the very near future. So this Monday, it was June 29th, the State Department of Education released certain reopening school plan, which provided guidelines and requirements related to Connecticut's statewide approach to the in-person return to school for the 2020-21 school year. The Board of Education and our current return to school plan structure is closely aligned to that plan, and the school district will adhere to the requirements within the planning document as we as a town prepare for the coming year. And the guiding principles for that on a local planning basis include a focus on the health and safety of all members of our school district, students, teachers, families, administrators, and everyone, social and emotional well-being of all members of our school district, and a strong focus on equity as well as academic excellence for all students. We continue as a district and continue to plan for three main scenarios, I'm sure as everybody can imagine, for the return to school based on the level of COVID-19 spread. And I think we have to take the approach like, everybody is in pretty much every situation, that this is a very dynamic and not static process. So the approach right now is for a full in-person return to school with a remote learning component. That's our current plan. And that's based largely and premised on a minimal COVID-19 spread. We then, are considering or looking at a hybrid combination of remote learning and in-person learning, and that would be dependent on sort of a moderate COVID-19 spread. And then, the third scenario, which hopefully it doesn't come to, would be a full remote learning scenario, and that would be, premised or founded on a high COVID-19 spread. So I think, at this point, as I said, it's a very dynamic process and evolutionary process, and, we're working with the state to adopt a full in-person approach, but subject to change as data and trends change sort of at the local, regional, and state level. So that's the approach for the return to school. And I think the other significant issue to report to the council and the community from the Board of Education is that, consistent with the proclamation that Edward read earlier, and the ongoing social dialogue with regard to racial inequality at the local, state, national level, there is the creation of an ad hoc committee in place to address the mascot issue at the Farmington High School. So that will be an ongoing project and taking up right now with the formation of an ad hoc committee. So that's about it.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep.
I'll now move on to Economic Development Commission. Edward.
Thank you, CJ. Edward Gianaros. The EDC met on June 17th, and they had a presentation from Metro Realty on a proposed text amendment that they were going to present to the TPZ regarding the Special Innovation Floating Zone. So the text amendment is a collaboration between our former town planner, Mark DeVoe, and Metro Realty. And the Special Innovation Floating Zone was adopted in 2017 to encourage variety and flexibility in development within the Yukon Health Center area and the I-84 corporate office area. The text amendment proposes to add definitions, standards, and limitations for types of development allowed and require innovative design and layout. The intent is to create an environment where people can work, live, and play without the need of a vehicle, allowing for higher density living, walkable and bikeable community. And from what I heard from the TPZ meeting, that it was, their decision was postponed on the text amendment just because some commissioners wanted some additional information. So I think more to come on that. There is no meeting in August, and our next EDC meeting is September 9th at 5:30 on Zoom.
Great, thank you, Edward. Farmington Historic District Commission, Brian.
Thank you, CJ. This is Brian Connolly. For the Farmington Historic District Commission, our last meeting was canceled, and our next meeting will be next Tuesday, the 21st of July at 4 p.m. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Housing Authority, Gary.
This is Gary Palumbo. I have nothing to report on Housing Authority.
Thank you, Gary. Human Relations Commission, Joe.
Joe Capitaferro. Our next meeting is September 23rd for the HRC. We have nothing new to report, but we are excited to help out with this new formation of the task force in the upcoming future. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Library Board, Gary.
Gary Palumbo reporting on the library. We have a new director, executive director. Gentleman's name is Chris Lundquist. He started July 7th. We have limited hours library. Main library is open from 9:30 to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday. The Barney has a limited schedule, 9:30 to 12:30, Monday through Thursday. There is no browsing of books in the libraries. You must call ahead and pick up books in the library. The staff is available for phone call to help you out with book types, and computers are by appointment only. Thank you.
Great, Gary, thank you. Town Plan and Zoning Commission, Joe.
Joe Capitaferro, nothing new to report.
Thank you. Unionville Historic District Commission, Edward.
Edward Generos, nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to you, Ed, for Union Village Improvement Association.
Edward Generos, again, nothing to report. Thanks.
Okay, now we'll go back over to Joe for Water Pollution Control Authority.
Joe Capitaferro, nothing new to report.
Great. Does anyone have any other liaisons or commission reports? Hearing none, I will add one myself. The Bicycle Friendly Farmington Group is continuing their Wednesday night rides. You can meet at 6:15 at the Route 4 Trail parking lot in Unionville. The rides go up the trail, usually towards Collinville, but they mix up the directions. So if there's good weather on Wednesday, feel free to meet them down there at 6:15. Now we will move on to end agenda item K, report of the town manager, Kathy Blonsky.
Hi, good evening, Kathy Blonsky, Town Manager. I hope you're all doing well. For my report tonight, I'll start with the COVID-19 updates. Since we have last met, we have opened up the tax collector's office, and I'm very glad that we have. It has been busy. People have been coming in to pay their taxes, which is a great thing. We did put a town hall monitor in the front of the building who's been monitoring people coming in, making sure that they're wearing masks and following the social distance protocols. According to the tax office, it has been working out quite well, and I think our residents are very pleased that the town hall is open to pay taxes. There is a portion of our population that does really enjoy coming in to pay their taxes, and I think that it's been working out very well with the town hall monitor. Right now, we're on schedule to probably begin opening up the town hall to the public looking for September. But I will definitely update the council as we get closer to that date. The one thing I did want to mention about our town hall monitor, just a quick story, is that we have a part-time firefighter who is our town hall monitor. And a gentleman had come in and he paid his taxes, and then when he went back out to his car, he had a flat tire, and he came back in and he had some problems with calling AAA. So our town hall monitor called AAA for him, then went out to his car, got his tire out, and proceeded to help him change the tire on the car, and then came back in. And then the gentleman came back the next day to my office and really just spoke very highly about the town of Farmington and the service he got. And I just thought that was a nice story. And again, about our volunteer firefighters, our part-time firefighters, and just the service. So that was just something, it made my day. It was a nice thing that he came back the next day just to tell me about it. So I was happy about that. The other thing on my report item is that we did receive a small grant for $2,454. This is for our fire marshal's office and our fire department, and it's equipment includes digital cameras, 2 LED scene light kits, and 2 fire investigation toolkits. The purchase of this equipment will provide additional resources for the fire marshal, deputy fire marshal, and fire inspector when carrying out duties throughout the community. So that was great that we got that small grant. The other thing I did want to mention, CJ did mention it quickly, was that our trails and our river is being used quite a bit by our residents and members of the public, and that we do have extra police officers and extra CSOs patrolling the trails, and we also have some highway department workers also working, and that again, if we can stress that people can please clean up after themselves with litter, that would be very helpful. But we have had some litter issues, and we've had our highway department out trying to keep the trails and the riverfront tidy. The one other thing, I think Nancy Parent is on the line, and I was going to ask her if she wouldn't mind just giving the council a briefing on her concerts and that they've been the summer concert series, because they were, I think it was the first one was held last Thursday, and it was quite a great event. And if Nancy maybe could give us just a quick update on that. Nancy?
Sure. Did I unmute myself?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, we had our first concert this Thursday, and we had about 150, which is the limit, on the grass. We did circles, they're 10-foot circles, and they were all 10 feet apart. And then we had a few folks that wanted to stay separated in the parking lot in front of Staples House. And we actually had a few up at the top of the F Hill sitting right at the top of the hill. It was super successful. Everyone followed the guidelines, wore the masks outside of their circles, and everybody got some ice cream. So it was actually a great event, and we're going to keep doing them every Thursday. And the CERT is helping us park people just to make sure it's safe. And everybody had a great time, and we actually got quite a few compliments, just a chance to get out and enjoy some music and fresh air.
Thank you, Nancy. And who's playing this week?
This week is actually our famous Mr. Buccetti, who is teacher for the Farmington School Systems, who plays 50s, 60s music.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Nancy. I've like I said, I've heard great things about it and very good compliments about it. So nice job there.
Thank you.
I just have one other item I forgot about, is that it's very good news for the town, is that today the State Bond Commission met via Zoom, and on the list of projects was Farmington, and Farmington received a $1 million grant for our sidewalk project in the village. So Russ Arnold put an application in, and we did receive $1 million in grant funding. So later on in the agenda, we're going to set up a committee on the phasing of the streetscape project in the village, and this is definitely going to help us. So great job to Russ and his staff who put this together, and we just got announced today that we got $1 million. So it's good news. I don't have anything else for my report. If the council has any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them.
If anyone has any questions, please feel free from the council. Okay, hearing none. I will just say that was great news all around. We've had some great stories of employees doing a great job. We've got the concert series going on. We've got money coming in. But I think the most impressive thing I heard was that there are people who enjoy paying their taxes. We want those people moving to Farmington. If you know any of them, send them our way. So thank you. We will now move on to agenda item L, appointments. Ed, I think you have an appointment, number 6.
Edward Gineros, I move that Ned Stachin be appointed to the Land Acquisition.
Ed, can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you. That was my error.
Okay. Edward Gineros, L6, I move that Ned Stachin be appointed to the Land Acquisition Commission beginning immediately for an indefinite term.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to old business. Item N, we have none. Now we will move on to new business, item N. Peter.
Peter Master Batista, agenda item N1, to establish a task force to examine and create a plan to develop strategies and community partnerships to address racial inequality, to educate residents, and to increase awareness about Black lives by identifying areas of improvement in the community and to recommend an action plan to eliminate factors that lead to inequality. The task force will be charged with the following objectives. Number one, to hold meetings with residents to identify issues in the community that have led to unequal treatment based on race, and to engage residents through holding community forums, dialogue groups, and training workshops on implicit bias, to develop a campaign to increase public awareness of these issues. Number two, to analyze the current town services in collaboration with the town manager to increase transparency, to address racial inequality, and to develop initiatives and measurable goals. Number three, to support the Farmington Valley Health District in their mission to incorporate and adopt principles of social justice into everyday public health practice. Number four, to collaborate with the Board of Education in their efforts to ensure anti-racism, social injustice, equity within the pre-K through 12 school system in collaboration with the superintendent of schools. Number five, to analyze current procedures and policies of the police department in collaboration with the chief of police, including use of force, to increase transparency to address racial inequality, and to develop initiatives and measurable goals in collaboration with the chief of police. Number six, to encourage a diverse workforce by providing education and training to local businesses in the areas of racial inequalities, and to research possible incentives to increase the number of Black-owned businesses in collaboration with the Economic Development Director. Excuse me for the dog barking. And due to the urgency of this topic, the task force will provide the town council with a timeline for the action plan and a report on its progress at the October 13th, 2020 town council meeting. And the task force will provide regular quarterly reports to the town council and the public on its progress. And the task force will provide an action plan, including an analysis of the objectives and the recommended initiatives, programs, and future actions to the town council to continue addressing racial inequality in our community based on the timeline provided by the task force, and to appoint the following members to the subcommittee. Joseph Capitaferro, Town Council Liaison; Edward Generos, Town Council Liaison; Kay Higgins, Human Relations Liaison; Bill Beckert, Board of Education Liaison; Sarah Smith, Community Member; Yamina Penn, Community Member; Nika Thompson, Community Member; Jeremy McLaurin, Community Member; Chris Cloud, Community Member; Jessica Harrison, Community Member; Tanner Muzinski, Farmington High School student or recent alumni; Isaac Varghese, Farmington High School student or recent alumni. And the following non-voting members: Nancy Perrin, Staff Liaison; Corey Vincent, Police Department Liaison; Anna Savastano, Clerk; various town and school administrators as needed.
Joe Capitaferro, second.
Thank you, Joe. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh, I'm sorry. Ed raised his
I was going to vote aye. I just wanted to make just a quick comment, really.
Certainly.
I think it's great that we're doing this task force, and everyone, we should really, everyone should really feel comfortable and part of our community. And I'm glad we're doing something constructive to move our town forward, and we're being proactive. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ed. And you and Joe, thank you both for heading up this working group to put this all together. Okay, we had all our ayes. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to item N2. Peter.
Agenda item N2, to award bid number 295, tree removal and pruning services to Distinctive Gardens and Tree Care of South Windsor, Connecticut, in accordance with the schedule of costs as listed on the attached spreadsheet.
Joe Capitaferro, second.
We have a motion and a second. Kathy, would you like to discuss that?
This is our, this bid is with a qualified vendor to provide tree removal and pruning services for trees on town-owned property and right-of-ways. We have used this vendor for 13 years. You do note in your agenda packet that due to the COVID pandemic and some other factors, we did not get other bids. I do feel comfortable, and the finance director does feel comfortable. This is a one-year contract. We have used this service before for 13 years, that we should continue with them, but I do want to make note that we did not get any other bids for this.
Thank you, Kathy. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Peter, item 3.
Agenda item N3, make a motion to award bid number 297, large fire apparatus maintenance to Fleet Master Sales and Service of Windsor Locks, Connecticut, in accordance with their bid submission dated June 16th, 2020.
Do we have a second? I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. Kathy, could you explain?
This motion is to contract with a private contractor to provide maintenance and repair services for all our large fire apparatus in the fire department. Apparatus to be serviced under this award would include engine pumpers and the aerial ladder truck. Fire staff have reviewed the bids and have recommended going with Fleet Master Sales and the service as the lowest responsible bidder. And this would be for 1 year with the option to renew for a second year. And funds are part of our fire service operating budget.
Thank you, Kathy. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passed unanimously. Next.
Peter Mastrobatista, agenda item N4, to accept the FEMA assistance to firefighters grant supplemental funding opportunity for response to COVID-19 for $13,818.18.
Joe Capitaferro, second.
We have a motion and a second. Kathy?
This is an award under the supplemental grant opportunity from FEMA to financially support fire departments in purchasing personal protective equipment and supplies needed to prevent, prepare for, and respond to the COVID-19 public health emergency. So Steve Hoffman applied for this, and we did get notice that we did receive it, and it's for $13,818.
Thank you, Kathy. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Agenda item N5, to cancel the August 11th, 2020 Town Council meeting.
Joe Capitaferro, second.
I think I heard a third and fourth in there also. Kathy?
The town has historically canceled this meeting, so I'm recommending that we cancel it.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Next.
Peter Mastrobatista, agenda item N6, to establish a town council ad hoc committee to work with the town staff to make recommendations to the town council on next steps concerning the Parsons property and the BSC streetscape improvement plan. The ad hoc committee will make recommendations on the following: the future use of Parsons property, the environmental liability associated with ownership of the Parsons property, the phasing portion of the BSC streetscape improvement plan, the selection of a preferred developer for the development of the Parsons property, and the ad hoc committee shall consist of Peter Mastrobatista, Town Council Member, Brian Conley, Town Council Member, CJ Thomas, Town Council Chair, Kathy Blonsky, Town Manager, Russ Arnold, Director of Public Works, Town Engineering, Rose Ponte, Economic Development Director.
Joe Capitaferro, second.
We have a motion and a second. Kathy?
Goal one of the town manager's goals was to create this ad hoc committee, and the council and I, we've talked about this. It's very good timing now that we've received our grant for $1 million, so that will help us with our phasing of the BSC streetscape improvement plan. The other item is that, again, we have our consultant, and hopefully the paperwork has gone through and they are on the site for the Parsons property, again, dealing with the environmental issues. And so this committee can review some of that information and give the overall council some recommendations on how to move forward.
Thank you, Kathy. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Oh, Brian, I'm sorry, Brian.
That's okay. Thank you, CJ. This is Brian Connolly. And I just want to say that I am very happy to see this moving forward. After the work that was done by our initial group, you know, a long time ago when we did our group meetings to decide what we wanted to do with the center, and the last village center group that decided what we wanted to see for streetscapes and for sidewalks, and it was truly a town input of information and ideas and selection of items that they wanted to see in the town center. And I'm glad to see us moving it forward for the entire town. And I look forward to seeing their ideas and their goals come to reality for them. And I'm glad to be a part of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Any other comments? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. We'll move on to item N7, new business.
Peter Mastrobatista, agenda item N7, to approve the following property tax refunds as listed below.
Joe Capitaferro, second.
Okay, this is our standard tax refunds. Any comments or questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Moving to item O, executive session. We have none this evening. Before I ask for a motion to adjourn, I will leave you with a comment from Nelson Mandela. One of the most difficult things is not to change society, but to change yourself. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Peter Mastrobatista, I make a motion to adjourn the July 14th, 2020 Town Council meeting.
Joe Capitaferro, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 7:53. Thank you all. Thank you for joining us. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Good night.